Morning sunlight slanted through the cracked blinds, dust motes dancing in the stale air of the small Atlanta kitchen. The smell of bacon grease and burnt toast clung stubbornly to the room, like a memory that refused to fade. John Miller, 58, tall, dark-skinned, with a neatly trimmed gray beard and broad shoulders, stood at the stove. His hands, calloused from decades of labor and life's battles, moved with a quiet precision, flipping pancakes as if each one carried the weight of his sacrifices. Across the counter, Emily Miller, 22, white, slim, and impeccably groomed, even at breakfast, scrolled through her iPhone. Her blonde hair was pulled into a tight ponytail, nails shining like polished marble. She barely looked up. "You keep looking at that phone like it's gonna cook you breakfast," John said lightly, attempting humor. "Maybe it will one day," Emily replied flatly. John smirked and flipped a pancake. "I made pancakes. Your favorite." Emily's eyes stayed glued to the screen. "I don't really eat that stuff anymore." John froze mid-flip. "Since when?" "Since I stopped living like I'm broke," she said, tone casual, but her words cut like knives. He set the spatula down, eyes narrowing slightly. "Ain't nothing broke about a home-cooked meal." Emily's phone buzzed. A group call from coworkers, Sophia and Claire. She swiped to answer. "Oh, Em, we saw that picture with your dad. He really does look like a lawn guy," Sophia laughed. "No, seriously, I thought it was some random neighbor," Claire added. John's hand froze mid-flip, spatula hovering. The laughter bounced sharply off the walls, sharp and cruel in its casual tone. "Guys, shut up! That's just my dad!" Emily snapped. "Oh my God, we just didn't expect," Sophia stammered. John remained silent, staring at the pancake as if it might answer. "Guess your friends think they're comedians," he said quietly, almost painfully calm. "They were joking! Don't be so sensitive!" Emily shot back, her voice sharp, but now tinged with humiliation and defensiveness. "Didn't sound like a joke," John replied, voice low, controlled. "You always twist everything." "They didn't mean anything by it," she fired. "They meant exactly what they said," he countered, his tone cutting through the room. Emily rolled her eyes, flicking her hand dismissively. "You wouldn't understand. People see a rich white girl with a black man, and they start whispering. They look at me like I'm, what, some charity project?" John's jaw tightened. "Charity case?" "Yes, that's exactly what they think," she yelled. "And every time I walk into a room with you, people stare. People talk behind my back. I can't live like this." John's eyes hardened for a brief moment. Hurt and rage coiled together. "You think it's easy for me? You think I don't see the stares, the side glances, the assumptions? The looks people give me when I step into your world, your office, your neighborhood, like I'm an intruder?" Emily laughed bitterly, a sharp, broken sound. "Oh, please, you don't get it. They see a poor black man with his white daughter and start asking questions, whispering, judging, laughing. I'm tired of explaining. I'm tired of being humiliated because of you." "I've been judged every day of my life," John said quietly, voice taut. "By folks who don't see me as a man. By folks who assume I don't belong. By folks who think my color defines everything I am. But somehow, I never made you feel ashamed. I never made you question your worth." Emily slammed her phone down, her voice trembling with fury and panic. "Well, congratulations, you failed. Every whisper, every look, every 'oh, that's her dad' moment, all because of you. And now I'm supposed to, what, smile and pretend I don't hear it?" He straightened, his presence solid, unshaken. You think I care what folks whisper? I've carried their judgment my whole life. You think I care about fitting into their world? You think I haven't been laughed at, doubted, or stared at because of my skin? I survived it, Emily, so you could live above it. Yes, I do, Emily snapped, tears brimming in her eyes. Because I live there. I live in a world that expects me to be perfect, to blend in, to erase you, to erase us. John's hands clenched at his sides, veins taut. Impossible? You think love and family are impossible? I raised you with everything I had, sacrificed everything I could. And this is how you repay me? Emily turned away, voice low but venomous. I repay you by wanting to live my life without being humiliated every second, without being judged because of your skin, because of the color you were born with. The kitchen grew quiet, the sizzling pan the only sound. John shook his head slowly, sorrow etched into every line of his face. You think I don't know the world looks at us differently? You think I've forgotten the whispers? The judgmental glances, the assumptions, every door I opened for you. I walked in first, knowing the world would hate me for it. And I did it anyway. Her words froze. For the first time, she glimpsed the weight he bore, the years of subtle prejudice, the microaggressions, the casual racism he endured silently. But she hardened herself against it. I can't do it anymore. I can't be the girl with the poor black dad. I'm done. John's face fell. Exhaustion, heartbreak, and quiet rage settled into his gaze. He picked up his coffee, setting it down with a soft finality. One day, you'll realize the world don't matter. But I did. I saw you as mine, he said quietly. Emily's eyes flicked away, tears threatening, masked by anger. Yeah, maybe that was your mistake. John paused at the door, then left, leaving the kitchen filled with the smell of burnt pancakes and the heavy silence of words that would never be forgotten. Outside, the neighborhood was waking up. The looks, the whispers, the subtle judgments John had endured his entire life were waiting. But inside, Emily's anger burned brighter than any hint of compassion. Her mind already plotting how she could live in a world that seemed to demand she disown the man who gave her everything. The downtown office buzzed with fluorescent energy. Glass walls reflected polished shoes, expensive handbags, and the city skyline beyond. Emily Miller strode in, heels clicking like warning shots. Her laptop bag swung sharply at her side. Sophia and Claire were already at her desk, sipping lattes and whispering. Hey, your dad called again this morning, Sophia asked, trying to sound casual, but her voice carried a mix of curiosity and concern. Emily's lips pressed together in a tight line. Yeah, didn't answer, she said, her tone sharp, almost predatory. Good, Claire said quietly. You can't let him just... Emily whipped around, blonde hair whipping across her shoulder. Her blue eyes flashed with anger. You don't get it. Nobody gets it, she shouted. The sudden volume made nearby coworkers glance up from their keyboards. Emily, Sophia said hesitantly, but Emily cut her off. He thinks he can just waltz into my life, embarrass me, and I'm supposed to smile and pretend it's normal? She screamed, pacing like a predator in a cage. She stopped mid-step, glaring at the glass walls. Her reflection doubled the intensity of her rage. Do you know what it's like walking into a room and seeing everyone's eyes flicker to my dad, a black man, my dad, and hearing the whispers, oh, she's rich, she's adopted, Claire whispered. Wow, Emily. I've done, Emily continued, voice rising, done pretending to be proud, done explaining, done hiding how embarrassed I am. The office went silent. Phones were raised, some coworkers watching in shock, others whispering under their breath. Emily's chest heaved, cheeks flushed. She felt a sick twist of pride at asserting herself, but it mingled with fear, guilt, and shame. "He is proud of me, and the world hates it," she shouted, nearly collapsing into the edge of her desk. "Do you know what it's like to have everyone judge you because your dad is black? They see him, they see me, and they think I owe the world some explanation for loving him." Sophia, finally regaining her voice, said quietly, "Emily, are you ashamed of him?" Emily froze. The words pierced her. Part of her wanted to scream, part of her wanted to vanish, but the anger was louder than the guilt. "I'm not ashamed," she yelled. I can't live under a microscope anymore." "You're making a scene," Claire said softly, voice trembling. Emily spun toward her, eyes wide. "A scene? This is my life. Every glance, every whisper, every smirk, he's ruined me." The room felt smaller. Her colleagues stared, some confused, some silently judging, others clearly uncomfortable with the racial tension she had exposed. Her words had made their microaggressions and assumptions visible, and for a moment, the office felt like a courtroom. "You don't get it," Emily yelled, her voice cracking. "He makes me look like, what, a charity case? Some rich white girl with a poor black man trying to act fancy? Do you know how humiliating that is?" Her hands trembled. Her anger had bled into shame. She wanted to stomp, scream, disappear, but she also wanted to be seen, acknowledged, validated. The duality left her breathless. Emily finally turned to her laptop, slamming it shut, the metallic click echoing like a gunshot in the silent office. "I'm done defending him, done explaining, done letting him be him. I have a life to live without his shadow." Sophia and Claire exchanged a glance. They understood the rage, but couldn't condone the cruelty. The tension lingered like a storm cloud. Emily straightened, lips pressed into a thin line. Her reflection in the glass wall stared back at her, pale, angry, and trembling. She had made her stand, but at what cost? Behind the glass, distant co-workers whispered about her outburst. Some admired her confidence. Others recoiled at her cruelty. In her chest, Emily felt the first prick of true shame, buried under layers of pride and rage. She had asserted control. She had cast out the man she called Dad. But for the first time, the weight of judgment, the weight of race, and the weight of her own arrogance began to press on her chest. For now, Emily walked back to her desk, heels clicking like gavel strikes. She told herself, "I won. This is my life, my rules, my world. No one can stop me." But outside, the world had already begun whispering, and Emily, for all her confidence, would soon learn that victory built on shame and denial was fragile and fleeting. December had arrived, and a thin frost coated the streets of Atlanta. Inside the Miller house, sunlight slanted through the blinds, but it did little to warm the tension that clung to the air like a heavy fog. Emily paced the living room, heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor, her face flushed with fury, shame, and triumph. Every step was a drumbeat of anger, each one echoing through the cavernous space. John Miller descended the stairs, calm and composed, coat draped over his arm. His tall frame filled the doorway, but the sadness in his eyes betrayed the storm beneath. He had lived long enough to know when words would fail and when silence spoke volumes. Emily stopped mid-stride, chest heaving. Her eyes blazed as she pointed at him. "Sit down? No. I'm done sitting around and pretending. I'm telling you, you're leaving, right now." John's voice was measured, quiet but firm. "Leaving? You serious? Yes, she screamed, her voice shattering the calm of the house. This house is mine. I can't have you here embarrassing me, making people stare, making me look like some charity case. You're a black man, and the world hates it. People whisper. They judge. They look at us like we're a joke. And I can't take it anymore. John's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth, closed it again, weighing words that could not undo decades of love or pain. You think this is easy for me? He said finally, voice low, controlled. Do you think I haven't felt their eyes on me, on us, every single time we stepped into a room? The stares, the whispers, the assumptions about me, about you, about what they think this family is? Emily's face contorted with fury. I don't care. I've spent my life explaining, hiding, pretending. You make me look like some poor little rich girl with a black dad who doesn't belong anywhere. Her voice rose, bouncing off the walls. I am done with being embarrassed, done with everyone judging me because of you. John's hands clenched at his sides. Emily, you think I've never cared? You think I don't know the world judges me for my color, for my life, for simply being who I am? But I never let it touch you. I never made you feel shame until now. You made me feel shame every day, Emily shouted, voice cracking, tears threatening to spill. Every time someone whispers behind my back, every time they look at me in disgust, like I should be ashamed of my life because of you. Her words hung in the air like a guillotine. The house felt smaller, tighter, as if the walls themselves were listening to the storm of words between them. John bent slightly, his deep voice resonating with sorrow and strength. Emily, I raised you to be better than the world. I gave you everything, love, a home, protection, and now you throw it all back in my face because people can't see past color? Because they judge? Because they assume? Because they hate? Emily let out a scream that was equal parts anger and despair. Yes! Yes! That's exactly what it is! People see a black man with his white daughter and they assume everything. And I can't. I won't live under that microscope anymore. John reached for the folder on the counter, calm as ever, placing it gently in front of her. Then it's settled, he said quietly. This house, it's all yours. Emily barely glanced at it, her chest heaving. A victorious smirk curled her lips. Finally, I can do what I want. No one could stop me now. I win. I'm free. John's gaze lingered on her, a mixture of sorrow, disappointment, and quiet pride. Free? He murmured. This isn't freedom, Emily. This is illusion. Without another word, he draped his coat over his arm, stepped outside, and closed the door behind him. The click of the lock echoed through the empty house, sharp, final, and irreversible. Emily stood in the middle of the living room, chest still heaving, the echoes of her own shouts bouncing back at her. She had won. She had cast out the man who raised her. She had silenced the reminders of her past. And yet, the silence that followed was heavier than any applause, colder than the frost on the streets outside, and more suffocating than any judgment she had ever tried to escape. For weeks, Emily reveled in the freedom she believed she had earned. She rearranged the furniture to match her taste, hung expensive artwork she had long admired, and hosted lavish gatherings in the grand living room. Her friends marveled at her independence. Wow, Em, you did all this yourself? One friend exclaimed, eyes wide as she stepped through the doorway. Emily's chest swelled. Yeah, no dad, no distractions, just me. Finally, everything I want, mine, she said with a gleam of triumph in her eye. Photos of pristine rooms and perfectly curated events filled her social media feeds. Every post reinforced the image she craved: confident, independent, unstoppable. She laughed with friends over glasses of champagne, her voice light, her smile unbroken, all while the house whispered of her hollow victory. Even the subtle glances and whispers from neighbors or coworkers no longer seemed to matter. She believed she had silenced judgment itself, that her father's departure had removed the final obstacle to her freedom. Meanwhile, John walked the streets of Atlanta, unnoticed by most, but always seen in whispers. A man on the coffee line muttered something under his breath. The store clerk hesitated before calling his name. He ignored it all. His dignity was intact, his love for Emily undiminished. What Emily did not know was the folder he had left behind, untouched on the counter, contained the truth. John had arranged for the house, the property, and assets to be donated to charity. He had left her the illusion of control, knowing that her pride and desire for independence would blind her to reality. For 30 days, Emily lived like a queen. She hosted dinners, posed for photos, and reveled in the admiration of friends and acquaintances. Every corner of the house reflected her dominance, polished, controlled, and perfect. I can finally do anything I want, she thought, wandering through the rooms she now believed were hers. No dad, no judgment. My life, my rules. I'm unstoppable. She did not see the hollow undertone of silence that filled the hallways. She did not notice the way the frost outside mirrored the chill slowly settling over her heart. In her mind, the house, the furniture, the admiration, all belonged to her, or so she believed. Every day reinforced the story she told herself, that she had earned it all, that she was free. Yet in the quiet corners, the folder waited. The truth, like a shadow, lingered, patient, inevitable, ready to unravel everything she had fought so hard to claim. The winter sun hung low over Atlanta, weak and pale, casting long, sharp shadows across the frost-coated streets. Inside the Miller house, the silence was heavy, almost suffocating. For a month, Emily had walked through these rooms as though she were queen of a kingdom she had claimed for herself. Every corner had been polished, every room curated, every detail a testament to her independence. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor as she moved through the living room, glass of sparkling water in hand, scrolling absently through her social media feed. Praise and admiration filled the screen, friends marveling at her decor, her parties, her apparent mastery over the house. A soft smile played on her lips. She had done it. Finally, she thought, she had escaped the shadow of her father. Finally, she was free of the judgment, the whispers, the uncomfortable stares that had haunted her since childhood. Then the mail arrived. A stack of envelopes slid through the mail slot, landing on the kitchen counter with a muted thud. Bills and advertisements, she ignored them easily, until her eyes caught a thick, official-looking envelope at the bottom. Her name was printed in bold letters. She frowned, an instinctive twinge of unease settling in her chest. She tore it open. Her eyes skimmed the words, but disbelief froze her. She read them again, and again, as her thoughts spun. The past month, the parties, the photos, the friends, the sense of triumph came crashing down. Everything she had believed to be hers, everything she had celebrated as her victory, was gone. Every step she had taken through the house, every proud post on social media, every smug smile now felt hollow, empty. Her breathing became ragged as she ran through the rooms, touching the furniture, the walls, the spaces she had claimed as her own. "It's mine! It's mine! It has to be mine!" she screamed. But the rooms echoed back nothing but silence. No laughter, no admiration, no validation, only the cold, unyielding truth. Then her eyes fell on the folder she had ignored the day John left. Her hands shook as she opened it, revealing the legal documents, all meticulously signed, dated, and irrevocable. Every line confirmed it. The house, the furniture, the assets, all transferred to charity. She was left with nothing. Tears sprang to her eyes, but they did not come fast enough to soften the blow. Shame, sharp and burning, pierced her chest. For the first time, Emily felt the weight of her arrogance, the cruelty of her own words, and the hubris that had blinded her to the quiet love and wisdom of the man she had called her father. She sank to the floor, trembling, the cold of the hardwood seeping into her bones. Her phone buzzed with notifications, congratulations, likes, comments, and suddenly they meant nothing. They were meaningless in the face of the truth. She remembered her shouts, her accusations, her disdain. "I'm free! I'm unstoppable!" she had cried. And now, nothing remained. Only emptiness, only silence, only the stark reality that her perceived victory had been an illusion. Outside, the faint crunch of frost under footsteps sounded distant. She pressed herself against the wall, half hoping, half fearing it might be John returning. But the realization struck like a cold gust. He had done exactly what he intended. He had allowed her pride to guide her. Knowing the truth would teach the lesson she refused to learn when he was present. Emily's sobs finally broke through. She curled into herself, staring at the empty rooms, the spaces she had claimed as hers. Her kingdom had vanished overnight, her power stripped away by the quiet foresight of a man she had scorned. She whispered, broken and barely audible, I thought I had everything, but I had nothing." The winter sun outside continued to fade, leaving the house in long, stretching shadows. Emily remained on the floor, alone with her shame, the weight of her choices pressing down like the frost outside, cold, unyielding, and impossible to ignore. In that moment, she finally understood the depth of her father's love, the quiet strength of his wisdom, and the cost of pride, arrogance, and denial. The illusion was gone. The truth had arrived, cruel, undeniable, and utterly transformative. And Emily, for the first time, had nowhere to hide.